The intel community seduced Twitter. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is another declaration of truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. Yesterday afternoon, Matt Taibbi released 2 more Twitter Files threads. The first concerned the intelligence or intel community and how it frankly seduced Twitter. The intel types accomplished this by the oldest method known to tyrants. Convince the other person that an external enemy exists and is manipulating them. Twitter's staff had a double incentive because they did not like who won the election of 2016. But the tale of this seduction goes beyond a rose gallery of professional spooks. It involves at least one United States senator. And it ill befits a senator to behave as this senator behaved. Before I give you the bloody, gory details, I do want to shout out to the prime sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views. Link in the description. And be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom for that link. Lots of great merchandise there, especially this t-shirt that I have chosen for today, which quotes Ronald Reagan, saying, "If fascism ever comes to America, it will come in the name of liberalism," as it plainly did. One more thing. If you like what you're about to hear, you can like this video. You can also click on the bell icon to get a notice every time I come out with a new one. In fact, do you see the new icon, the heart shape with the US dollar sign in it? That's the super thanks icon. If you really want to keep these videos coming, click that and leave me a tip. Any currency will do, so long as it's legal tender. First, some absolutely essential background. During the 2016 election campaign, Vladimir Putin made several splashes in American and worldwide news. He declared George Soros persona non grata, that's Latin for "this person is not welcome here," and issued a warrant for his arrest should he so much as set foot in Russia. Naturally, that provoked Soros to use all the tame media he had at his command. The result was the narrative of modern and definitely post-communist Russia as the enemy of the rest of civilization. Then Putin did one better. He abruptly canceled a trip abroad and issued a ukase that all of his people should arm themselves. And he named Hillary Clinton, the Democratic candidate for president, as the enemy of Russia and Russians. Against nearly all odds and predictions, Trump won the election. Hillary Clinton, dumbfounded and infuriated, refused to accept it. She has consistently refused to accept defeat and maintains to this day that the Russians put Trump in power. More to the point, the Democratic Party at the time answered to the Clinton Foundation and machine. Bear this in mind as you read Twitter Files Part 11. As ever, I have left links in the description to every other tweet in the thread. I should tell you that Matt Taibbi duplicated one of his tweets. An easy enough mistake to make, so I skipped the duplicate. This way, if you follow the links, you can see the entire thread. And now I'm going to quote it all. And again, bear in mind that most of these tweets have embedded images and videos. Thread begins. Thread, the Twitter Files. How Twitter let the intelligence community in. In August 2017, when Facebook decided to suspend 300 accounts with suspected Russian origin, Twitter wasn't worried. Its leaders were sure they didn't have a Russia problem. We did not see a big correlation. No larger patterns. Facebook may take action on hundreds of accounts, and we may take action on about 25. Keep the focus on Facebook. Twitter was so sure they had no Russia problem, execs agreed the best PR strategy was to say nothing on record and quietly hurl reporters at Facebook. Twitter is not the focus of inquiry into Russian election meddling right now. The spotlight is on Facebook. wrote Public Policy Vice President Colin Crowell. In September 2017, after a cursory review, Twitter informed the Senate it suspended 22 possible Russian accounts and 179 others with possible links to those accounts, and a larger set of roughly 2,700 suspects manually examined. Receiving these meager results, a furious Senator Mark Warner of Virginia, ranking Democrat on the Intelligence Committee, held an immediate press conference to denounce Twitter's report as frankly inadequate on every level. Hashtag irony, mused Crowell the day after Warner's presser, after receiving an e-circular from Warner's re-election campaign asking for $5 or whatever you can spare. LOL, replied General Counsel Sean Edgett. In case you've forgotten, that's a letter word for laughing out loud. Keep producing material. After meeting with congressional leaders, Crowell wrote, Warner has political incentive to keep this issue at the top of the news, maintain pressure on us and rest of industry to keep producing material for them. Taking their cues from Hillary Clinton. Crowell added Dems were taking cues from Hillary Clinton, who that week said it's time for Twitter to stop dragging its heels and live up to the fact that its platform is being used as a tool for cyber warfare. In growing anxiety over its PR problems, Twitter formed a Russia task force to proactively self-investigate. This Russia task force started mainly with data shared from counterparts at Facebook, centered around accounts supposedly tied to Russia's Internet Research Agency, or IRA. But the search for Russian perfidy was a dud. October 13th, 2017. No evidence of a coordinated approach. All of the accounts found seemed to be lone wolf type activity. Different timing, speed, targeting, less than $10,000 in ad spend. October 18, 2017. First round of Russia investigation. 15 high-risk accounts, 3 of which have connections with Russia, although 2 are Russia Today, which is their news organ. Let's break here. Now, thus far, we've seen Twitter look at the data and at first say, problem? What problem? Then the Clinton machine goes into overdrive, together with Senators Mark Warner and Tim Kaine, who was Clinton's running mate, of, I regret to say, Virginia. And you really need to take a break for this next part. This is where Twitter starts to become a state actor. Before I go on, I want to shout out to a sponsor who can really help you through the economic storms to come. That sponsor is oursilverlines.com. Do you feel like you're working harder for your money just to get by? You are not alone. The fluctuating economy, employment issues, and unexpected changes in life have left many families struggling over the past few years. Collecting gold and silver can help shield you against many of these challenges. But if you're like me many years ago, you don't know where or how to start. Our Silver Lines helps by connecting you with thousands of members who are learning the secrets to creating and protecting true wealth by collecting precious metals. Whether you just want to collect rare and unique coins or take advantage of the business opportunities this company provides. Either way, they can help you learn to live an exceptional life. Visit oursilverlines.com to learn how you can build a legacy for your future. Now then, October 20th, 2017. Built new version of the model that is lower precision but higher recall, which allows to catch more items. We aren't seeing substantially more suspicious accounts. We expect to find about 20 with a small amount of spend. October 23rd, 2017. Finished with investigation. 2,500 full manual account reviews. We think this is exhaustive. 32 suspicious accounts and only 17 of those are connected with Russia. Only 2 of those have significant spend, one of which is Russia Today. Remaining less than $10,000 in spend. Twitter's search finding only 2 significant accounts, one of which is Russia Today, was based on the same data that later inspired panic headlines like Russian influence reached 126 million through Facebook alone. The failure of the Russia task force to produce material worsened the company's PR crisis. In the weeks after Warner's presser, a torrent of stories sourced to the Intel committee, those senators, poured into the news. An example being Politico's October 13th article, Twitter deleted data potentially crucial to Russia probes. Were Twitter a contractor for the FSB, they could not have built a more effective disinformation platform, Johns Hopkins professor and Intel committee expert Thomas Rid told Politico. As Congress threatened costly legislation and Twitter was subject to more bad press fueled by the committee, the company changed its tune about the smallness of its Russia problem. Hi guys, just passing along for awareness the write-up here from the Washington Post today on potential legislation or new FEC regulations that may affect our political advertising, wrote Kroll. In Washington, weeks after the first briefing, Twitter leaders were told by Senate staff that Senator Warren feels like tech industry was in denial for months. Added an Intel staffer. Big interest in political article about deleted accounts. Twitter pledged to work with them on their desire to legislate. Knowing that our ads policy and product changes are an effort to anticipate congressional oversight, I wanted to share some relevant highlights of the legislation Senators Warner, Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota, and John McCain of Arizona will be introducing, wrote Policy Director Carlos Monye soon after. The committees appear to have leaked, even as Twitter prepared to change its ads policy and remove Russia Today and Sputnik to placate Washington. Congress turned the heat up more. Apparently, leaking the larger base list of 2,700 accounts, reporters from all over started to call Twitter about Russia links. BuzzFeed, working with the University of Sheffield, claimed to find a new network on Twitter that had close connections to Russian-linked bot accounts. It will only embolden them. Twitter internally did not want to endorse the BuzzFeed and Sheffield findings. Senate Intel Committee is asking, possible to whip something together. Still, when the BuzzFeed piece came out, the Senate asked for a write-up of what happened. Twitter was soon apologizing for the same accounts they had initially told the Senate were not a problem. Reporters now know this is a model that works. This cycle, threatened legislation, wedded to scare headlines pushed by congressional/Intel sources, followed by Twitter caving to moderation asks, would later be formalized in partnership with federal law enforcement. Twitter soon settled on its future posture. In public, it removed content at our sole discretion. Privately, they would offboard anything identified by the U.S. Intelligence Committee as a state-sponsored entity conducting cyber operations. Twitter let the USIC into its moderation process. It would not leave, wrote Kroll in an email to the company's leaders. We will not be reverting to the status quo. For more on the Twitter files, check out Barry Weiss, Mike Schellenberger, Lee H. Fang, and David Swag. Watch this space shortly for another thread. End of thread. Earlier installments of the Twitter files showed that Twitter behaved like a state actor. This thread now shows how Twitter became a state actor and when that happened in earnest. CNAV's latest contributor, Mackenzie Allen Bettel, Esquire, has shown that this behavior is legally actionable. He has published a blueprint titled Suing the Federal Government for Dummies on his page at Substack and also on CNAV. I have decided to leave a link in the description. And as you ponder that, you have to ask yourself, what possessed Twitter to acquiesce in these obviously unlawful and unconstitutional orders? Two things. First, all the pressure on Twitter was pressure to censor and report, i.e. snitch. Second, Twitter staff were simpatico with the basic theory. Indeed, Twitter staff had two motives to cooperate with the intel community in the service of a shared ideology. First, they hated Trump, and many of them, most no longer with the company, still do, and indeed always will. Second, the Russian Federation represents everything they despise and a threat to everything they hold dear. Russia is a civilizational state. The last kind of state that would ever acquiesce in a rule by a one-world government. Furthermore, Russia stands against woke values, including alternative lifestyles, and for civilizational values like religion and moral virtue. And the kicker, Russia encourages its own people to arm themselves. Zounds! The American-led police that no person except a law enforcement officer, an active duty military, a very important person, or his bodyguard should own, carry, or so much as touch, much less discharge a firearm. For all these reasons, the American people must consider its intel community to be its enemies. George Washington was right. Government is a dangerous servant and a fearsome master. This government became our masters. The release of the Twitter files, especially this latest thread, opens the way to reclaim our freedom. Link in the description to the article, to the thread, to the article about suing the federal government, to an article explaining what a civilizational state is, to my Declarations of Truth Twitter account, and to Conservative News and Views. I've also left links to the awesome CNAV Store and to oursilverlives.com, as I also mentioned. You know already about how to like a video, turn on notifications, and leave a tip. And on the end screen, I'm going to leave a subscribe link to my channel and links to my Twitter files playlist, plus an earlier video about social media companies as state actors and what is a civilizational state. This is Terry A. Hurlbut delivering another declaration of truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.